I know we're running short on time, but we had one more question.
Okay.
And a lot of our professors here at Liberty they do their work is in attachment theory, and with just the pressure in college of hooking up and just having a relationship with no connections, or just like a guy getting with a girl out for the night. Later in their life, when they want to finally settle down, is there any studies that show that it's hard for them to actually start showing love for them and their attachment so with their earlier spouses or girlfriend or boyfriend, to where it's hard for them to do that and settle down?
20, 25 years ago, there was quite a bit of research, especially on cohabitation.
Right.
And it showed that couples who cohabitate before getting married, actually their stress and their divorce rates were higher than people who did not cohabitate before getting married. Over the last 20, 25 years, even though the divorce rate has declined a little bit, cohabitation has not declined. It's actually increased a little bit. Probably close, in any given year, you probably have 8 to 10% of couples who cohabitate before they get married. But what they're seeing now is it isn't necessarily resulting in higher divorce rates or stress rates. Now people say, but that doesn't make sense, because it's the whole, well, is it wise to try before you buy kind of thinking. The reality is, because we live in a postmodern culture that is driven often by media, we live in a highly sexualized culture and society. Sex sells everything. The stigmatization related to hooking up or cohabitating is not what it was, half a generation or generation ago. And so because the stigma is removed, and it's not as much, it doesn't create stress to be in that kind of relationship to begin with, because the cultural and the moral parameters have been lowered. And so it doesn't produce the kind of stress and tension that it did before, and that might have something to do with that. However, I think what it does create is the sense that I haven't learned what it means to have a commitment to work through the tough parts of a relationship. We're not, whether it's hooking up for a night or a weekend or a week, it's like, there's no commitment here, so therefore it's easy for me to walk away. Well, if that's the kind of relationship that people have all the time leading up to a marriage, which is supposed to be committed, and you figure out how to work through stuff, you've learned and trained yourself, I don't really have to try, I don't have to work out this, and it's really about what pleases me now. And so if I get bored, or if I'm no longer happy or pleased with what's going on, then big deal. I just walk away, they walk away, because that's how I've been trained to think about relationship. I think that's what produces potential problems, because the divorce rate is still high. We still have one of the highest divorce rates among any industrialized Western country, and so I think it promotes a sense of lack of commitment, which I think is problematic, besides any of the other moral implications related to maybe physical intimacy and things like that happen with couples who just hook up.
What would you say is key to for getting a successful relationship, or keeping?
For keeping a relationship that started off as sort of hooking up and then moving that, or?
Yes.
Well, I think a key is to begin by saying, that's not how I get into relationship. I mean, if you start off, now I understand that sometimes that happens and maybe it changes, but I think part of it is you begin by saying to yourself, that's not how I'm going to enter into relationships. So I believe that one key is to begin by saying, that's not how I do it anymore.
It's not so much physical anymore.
Right. Well, listen, I can tell you, as someone who's done tons of marriage counseling and worked with thousands of couples over the last 30 years, a great sex life will not get a couple through the tough times in life. And it's easy to get bored with the physical aspect. And today, a lot, because young people are putting off marriage to a later age, it's about the physical piece of it. Let's friends with benefits. I understand how that works, but what happens is they think that what keeps the relationship together through the tough times that any couple or any relationship would have to face, including a good friendship. And if you've never learned to stick through something long enough to get through the tough times, and what it takes to do that, a good friendship, a healthy relationship, a faith relationship, yourself and with one another, then you've just trained yourself that it's easier to walk away. And so I think it contributes potentially to a higher divorce rate, which is obviously difficult for, if there's any kids in the picture, because they've been given a role model in a family environment that says, well, this is just what you do. So I think one of the keys to doing it is how you approach it to begin with.
Okay.
Gotcha. Well, Dr. Scalise, we really are thankful for having you come here and talk to our ADCC chapter, and we look forward to work with you in the future.
Great, thanks.